we were doing this the last time, I learned that the dew point is very important because the higher the dew point is, which I know we can't really see there, but it's there somewhere behind my head. That's how you really figure out the humidity and how oppressive it can be. So there's the temperatures now, 75 in the city. And as you further up north you get into the low 70s. Isn't that spectacular? When's the last time we had that? So go out for a walk, do something today. Go to it's a perfect beach day. And not a storm in the forecast. Everything is away from us. So that is good. All right, that's enough talk about the weather. I can't stretch that anymore. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the stories that we're working on today. And there's some interesting ones. So we have some interesting ones today. There was a big police chase in Midtown today with guns drawn at this busy intersection on the east side. And all of a sudden, this car crashes. Suspects start running. And police are still searching for them. So that was in Midtown today, a wild Midtown chase. And our Lisa Evers is on that. Other big story today, Trump officials say they're increasing staffing after getting blocked from opening an office in the city's jail. So ICE is now threatening to flood the zone in New York City, a sanctuary city. And Mayor Adams addressed this yesterday, saying he wants to cooperate with federal authorities on immigration. But he was more blaming the city council for not letting him. I mean, he specifically said yesterday he wants ICE to go after the criminals and those who are causing trouble in our cities. Comes after that deportation officer was killed over the weekend. So we'll see what happens with that. Our Morgan Mackay is following that. And a big thing out of Long Island today for all our Long Islanders who may be watching, Nassau County declares that rabies is an imminent public health threat because cases are starting to rise there. And it was obviously, you think about all these things, all of a sudden rabies comes out of nowhere. But in Nassau County, it's a thing, so they'll do that. A big talker today are the SNAP funding cuts. And, we talk to all these different nonprofits and these agencies who rely on federal funding. Children's Aid is having a distribution today in Washington Heights. And basically, they're just one of the many organizations throughout our city, throughout New York State, that relies on federal dollars to help people in need, children, in this case being one of them. And the tax bill, the big beautiful bill that passed the House earlier this month, that is what, a lot of that money is being taken away. So starting in September, and I've done stories on this locally too, with the Boys and Girls Club up in Westchester, one of their chapters there, how they're so concerned about what will happen next. And that is kind of scary because, they're providing all these free services for these children. And all of a sudden, they can't provide anymore. And these programs will have to be shut down. So Stephanie's going to help us on that one, Bertini, with that today. E-bikes are a major problem. This is a story out of the New York Post that we're trying to follow today. But migrant delivery workers taking over an East Village block to park their e-bikes. So the parking, you already know, is a drag in the city. You can't find parking. So these e-bikes are now occupying these parking spaces on this one block, and residents are complaining about it. So we're going to send our Arthur Chan to investigate that. What else do we got here today? I'll save my story for last because that's the best one, my opinion. Nick star Jalen Brunson, he's doing a charity event today through his nonprofit, the Second Round Foundation, which he co-founded with his mom. And this is great, especially now. They need this now more than ever with so much funding being lost. Jalen committing $328,000 to Dream Scratch Food Program, which provides nutritious scratch-made meals to students in East Harlem and the Bronx, which is so great. He is an all-star off and on the court. And my favorite story of the day, because I got this, and it's like, how do you not love this story? The 100-year-old ice cream shop. It's the oldest ice cream parlor in New York City, and it has changed. It has not changed. It has been the same since the 60s. It's located in Forest Hills over in Queens, and I was reading a little bit about it. It was basically a family that started this since 1968. And, well, that's not going to make sense. How could they have started in 1968 if it's 100 years old? I'm sorry, it opened in 1925, as Eddie's Sweet Shop. and it has been changed over the years with different family coming in and out. But it looks like this one is here to stay, and it's so difficult today for a small business to survive, whether it's through the pandemic, whether it's through the economy. It's really it's not a guaranteed, but it obviously seems like there's one ice cream parlor defying the odds. So on a day like this, what better way to get ice cream? So we'll be over there in Forest Hills. Come and see us if you're over there. Eddie's Sweet Shop. I better stay on that story now, because now I teased it. So that's coming up. All those stories are going to be in our 5 o'clock show and our noon show coming up in a little while. All right, so we want to check out, I have bars on all these ELCs now. One of the interesting things that we could check out, we can almost listen into it for a little bit, is this Senate hearing called Securing the Skies. And basically, there's always this talk now about these unauthorized drones and how it affects public safety and how it's being enforced. We've had this issue locally in New Jersey and in Westchester County, and even up towards Orange County and Rockland. But there's a hearing on it today. So we're going to listen in just for a few minutes now. We can listen into that, right? Okay. And we'll hear what they have to say. Should be pretty interesting. I'll be right back.
Down in Kerrville, Texas, during the flood response, a drone collided with a response helicopter, requiring it to land, and I believe it was also taken out of commission temporarily while damage was assessed and repaired. And these are just two examples that happened this year. There have been multiple instances of drones colliding or interfering with firefighting or emergency response or disaster relief operations, and it's of critical importance that we secure these areas beyond just establishing flight restrictions, but also empowering those who are public safety or security officials with being able to respond accordingly.
Then another question: is it true, is it true that criminal organizations use drones to smuggle drugs, weapons, and contraband across our southern border into correctional facilities?
Affirmatively, yes, for the border. I'll defer to my colleagues for the prisons part of it.
Chairman, yes, as stated.
Okay, we're going to go over to the president now, who's hosting the president from the Philippines, coming off of that Senate hearing on drones. We could always go back to that, but we'll see if the president takes any questions from the press off topic or what he's discussing. You know, sometimes there's some news that comes out of those meetings. So we'll see what they're discussing today. Let's listen.
Business with you. It's a lot of income coming in for both groups. But I was surprised to see the kind of numbers. They're very big, and they're going to get bigger under what we're doing and what we're proposing. And I just want to thank you for being with us. It's a great honor. You and your representative. It's really a great honor. We have a big announcement. AstraZeneca, the big drug company, is going to spend $50 billion, just announced $50 billion in the United States in order to build various places all over the country, big manufacturing plants, pharmaceutical plants all over the country. So that's an honor. And he said they did that because of the election and because of the fact that the tariffs are placed. So they're building their facilities in New York. $50 billion, that's a big investment. And it's going to be a very good investment. I have no doubt about it. So thank you to AstraZeneca. And with that, I'd like to have you say a few words, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Of course, we're all very happy to be here to once again reaffirm the very strong ties between the Philippines and the United States, ties that go back over 100 years. And considering the context in which we live these days, especially in my part of the world, this has evolved into as important a relationship as is possible to have. We must remember that the United States is our only treaty partner in the Philippines, and that has stood us in good stead over the years, certainly through the Second World War, and the cultural memory of all Filipinos, down to even the school children, is that our strongest, closest, most reliable ally has always been the United States. And that is something that we value, that we are grateful for, and that we will continue to foster as we go on. With the leadership of President Trump, I am very confident that we will be able to achieve that. I think it is worthwhile to remember that it was President Trump who, in his first term, characterized the relationship between the Philippines and the United States as ironclad. And that has been necessarily the case since that time that you made that statement, sir. And it is something that the Philippines will always hold close to its heart. Thank you once again, and we are honored, and it is our great pleasure to be here and to visit with the President of the United States. Thank you, sir.
It's my great honor. Any questions, please?
Mr. President.
Yeah, please, go ahead. Go ahead.
Mr. President, do you think that Fed Chair Jerome Powell should resign?
I think he's doing a bad job, but he's going to be out pretty soon anyway. In eight months, he'll be out. But I call him too late. He's too late all the time. He should have lowered interest rates many times. Europe lowered their rate 10 times. We lowered ours none. And it's causing a problem for people that want to buy a home. Look, our economy is so strong now, we're blowing through everything. We're setting records. You know that, you see that. And whether it's the Philippines or anyone else, we're setting records at levels that nobody's ever seen before. But you know what? People aren't able to buy a house because this guy is a numbskull. He keeps the rates too high, and probably doing it for political reasons. The only time I remember him cutting rates, I mean, he cut the rates just before the election to try and help Kamala or whoever he was trying to help. He probably didn't know. And he's building a building. He's $2.7 billion. They have a $900 million overrun. What is that? And that was given by Biden. That was another Biden deal. And this guy's building this building that's severely overrun. And what does he need the building for? What does he need? He needs space for more people. So they did a big study the other day, and they called all of the great intellects and the great economists and all of the great everything. And it was 71, and only 2 got it right. Me and another gentleman that happens to be very smart. 69 people got it wrong, and the Fed got it wrong, more wrong than anybody. And you know, he has these think tanks, and they build buildings for people that think. And it's really not thinking. It's a little bit of combination of thinking, but it's something you sort of have or you don't have. They don't. The job he's done is just terrible. He ought to raise interest rates. You know, we should be at 1%. We should be leading the world. Instead, we're paying 4%. And if you look at what that means, that's over $1 trillion in interest that we have to pay. That with the striking of a pen, we would be saving more than $1 trillion. Is that right, Scott? Do you have anything to say about it?
Yes, sir. I called yesterday and this morning for the Fed to do a big internal investigation to understand not their monetary policy, but everything else. The Fed has had big mission creep, and that's where a lot of the spending's going. That's why they're building these new or refurbishing these buildings. And I think they got to stay in their lane. And I think that based on the way they cut rates last fall, they should be cutting rates now.
It's inconceivable, I know the Fed very well, that they can be spending $2.7 billion to build a building. They don't do anything. They just, I mean, it's the greatest job. You show up one day, a half a day, you make a little speech, the economy's doing well, the economy's not doing well, we're going to raise interest. And he's got it wrong. That's why I call him too late, T-O-O, too late. And it's really too bad. But it is affecting people that want to buy houses, and that shouldn't happen.
And Mr. President,
And you know, he should lower them. Those rates should be 3 points lower. That's what they should be, 3 points lower, maybe more than that.
I would like to ask both of you
Yes.
one person. Mr. President Marcos, next year, Philippines is going to be the rotating chair of ASEAN. I wonder how do you plan to balance your relationship between the United States and China? And for President Trump, Kremlin yesterday said if you are going to Beijing in September, they wouldn't rule out a meeting between you and President Putin. Is such a meeting possible? And how soon do you plan to visit China?
Well, we have a lot of meetings possible. President Xi has invited me to China, and we'll probably be doing that in the not too distant future, a little bit out, but not too distant. And I've been invited by a lot of people, and we'll make those decisions pretty soon. Please.
Well, as you say, we are chairing ASEAN for 2026. There is no need
We're going to come off
in
this
a
now.
sense
We're listening to President Trump hosting the Philippine president, a bilateral meeting with President Marcos there from the Philippines. And really some of the big news, it was really a Q&A with reporters. And the big news that came out of that, like I said right before we went to that 10 minutes ago, there's always some type of news that comes out of those things, is that Trump said that the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell, will be out pretty soon, basically threatening his job, saying that he's keeping interest rates too high. So we'll see how that develops. And we'll potentially go back to that and see how long that meeting lasts. We'll go back outside now to look at our weather here, which is a lovely day. It is, can't get better than this day on this late, that's what we call it, mid to late July. Can you believe how fast the summer's going? Oh my goodness, it's flying. But nonetheless, it feels a little bit more like fall than it does summer today, which is a nice break since we've endured many a humid days and more to come. It's not going to last. But we're behind us, by the way, in case you're wondering. So you have, I don't know what's more important to you, watching the skyline or what's behind us in our newsroom. We get to show you on these newsroom lives all the lovely producers and writers and our desk people who are doing our work here and setting up our stories for the day. These are kind of the inner workings, and I was just talking to my colleague over here about what we do as reporters, and I read you all these stories earlier about what we're working on today. I'm doing an ice cream shop story, we're doing a rabies alert, the SNAP funding cuts, and that's all basically set, but it's not set in stone because there's so many things that could potentially break between now and 5 o'clock, now and 4 o'clock, that things will change that quickly. So we could all of a sudden be, and this happens to me a lot, is you're assigned to a story and you think that that's your story for the day, and it's a really good story potentially, but something more important or more timely breaks, and we have to get to that location and get on the air with it, because sometimes it's not necessarily how great a story is, because it can always wait for another day. But if news is imminent and it's happening now, we want to be there. So, that's maybe a little bit of a downfall of the job. But there's also like a rush. There's a feeling of excitement when you're going to a scene and you're going to see something. So we like that too. So it's, it's touch and go. But this summer so far, I'm going to jinx myself now, has been good news-wise. I'm going to, we can go up to the, that's Lisa's story. Okay, yeah. So we were talking about that Midtown chase earlier. I should actually look up to see where that info was that from our lovely web team here who've put it up. Our Lisa Evers will be going live in about 10 minutes. And I correct myself that the driver in this crash has been arrested. This driver who crashed into several cars, including a police cruiser in Midtown. What we're reporting is that police were flagged down by a driver whose car was struck on Park Avenue just before 7 this morning. So officers went to stop that vehicle, and then it kept going and collided with the police cruiser. Driver flees the scene. You can't see much there. I think probably that scene has been cleared up is what we're looking at here. And here's Lisa. She's popping in front of the camera now. I don't know. And she'll probably get a light on her soon, so you'll see how that works. And she'll report for us. If only we could take her now. But we can't. So we know the driver's being questioned now. Charges are pending. Lisa's going to update us. But it looks like that scene has pretty much been cleared. I see the president is still taking questions now on the DOJ's criminal referral on the Russia investigation. He also spoke a little bit about the Epstein saga. I'm trying to read here what he said. Yes. Oh, can we take him? Oh, everything left here. Everything went out. We'll go back to the president for a few minutes so you can hear what he's saying now about
beautiful than it was then, but that's okay. I have nice pictures up. They came out of the vaults. They were in there for 100 years. This is much more beautiful. We have the Declaration of Independence now in the room, which wasn't here. I guess people didn't feel too good about putting it here, but I do. But you know what? If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one they, look, he's guilty. It's not a question, I like to say, let's give it time. It's there, he's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined, even in other countries. You've seen some pretty rough countries. This man has seen some pretty rough countries, but you've never seen anything like it. And we have all of the documents. And from what Tulsi told me, she's got thousands of additional documents coming. So President Obama, it was his concept, his idea, but he also got it from crooked Hillary Clinton. Crooked is a $3 bill. Hillary Clinton and her group, the Democrats, spent $12 million to Christopher Steele to write up a report that was a total fake report. Took 2 years to figure that out, but it came out that it was a total fake report. It was made up fiction. And they used that. Now, the one thing they weren't able to do was to, and probably the only thing I respect about the press in years is the press refused to write it before the election. They refused to put it in. The Steele report was a disaster. All lies, all fabrication, all admitted, an admitted fraud. She paid $12 million, and the Democrats, for that report to a wise guy named Christopher Steele. He wrote a phony report, and they wanted to get that report in before the election. And I'll tell you what, I talk about all the time, the fake news, how bad it is, but in this case, they wouldn't do it. They saw it, they read it, and they said, we don't believe it. And it was only after, substantially, like a month and a half after the election, that it got printed, and it was a big wisp. It was just like a bang of nothing, because the election had ended. If that report had gotten published by the New York Times or somebody, and I respect the Times for maybe only this, because they're crooked as you can be. They're a terrible paper, a crooked, corrupt paper. But for this one moment, they said, this is bullshit, we can't put this in. And neither could any other paper. Wall Street Journal's a lousy paper, very, very dishonest paper. As you see, I'm suing them for a lot of money because they do things very badly. It's got a nice name, but it's really, in my opinion, it's a terrible paper. And it can be corrupt. But just so you know.
We're going to jump out of the president there, who's addressing a whole bunch of issues in his hosting of the Philippines president. And of course, more will come out of that later today. Who knows? Maybe we'll even put a reporter on that today so they can talk about it. Speaking of the stories we're covering today, threats that ICE will flood the zone in New York City, considering it a sanctuary city. The Trump administration officials say they'll increase staffing after getting blocked from opening an office in the city's jails. The mayor, Adams, yesterday saying he will cooperate with federal authorities, but he's blaming the city council for not letting him. So that's a big story today, and we'll have that more on that Midtown chase, that rabies alert on Long Island. So if you're in Nassau County, be prepared. The SNAP funding cuts, all of that from the One Big Beautiful Bill, affecting local agencies, nonprofits all across the city. Stephanie Bertini is going to have an update on that. This is a great story that I'd even mentioned before, but Audrey's going to do this later. All this humid, damp, even when the rains come in, all that flooding weather, yeah, it's horrible for those who live around it. But you know who does love it? The fireflies. Who knew? And fireflies are going to, if you've noticed this summer, we've seen a lot of the lightning bugs pop up, more than I've actually seen over the last couple of years. I've noticed, like, I'm seeing them every night. And supposedly, I'm not imagining it, that they are very much non-extinct at least this year, but they're on the verge of it. So Audrey will tell us a little bit more about that. The Jalen Brunson charity event is happening. Can you put him up with me there because he's talking on Live U4? Can you switch to that or you can't? No, it's okay if you can't. The Knicks star, Jalen Brunson, he's committed to more than $300,000 to Dream Scratch Food Program, which provides food to kids in East Harlem and the Bronx, which we love. And of course, the best story of the day, the 100-year-old ice cream shop, because we'll make it the best story of the day. The oldest ice cream parlor in New York City. Where is it? Not in Manhattan, but in Queens, in Forest Hills. And it hasn't changed since the 60s, opened in 1925, and it's been that way ever since. So we're going to check it out and get the history of it, hopefully, today. So that will be very interesting and exciting to follow. And behind me, there's our writer, Catherine. She's working on the noon show, and then we have a couple of people scattered on the desk. That's an even clearer picture than the last time, because we get to see everybody now. And everybody's hard at work. It's not just a fake screen behind us. They're working back there. And then, so when I'm done with this, I go over to that assignment desk over there, and then I'll make sure that this is my story, what I'm doing, what crew will I be going with, and that will be the second part of my day. And it's interesting because people ask all the time, how do you get your story done? Don't you need like a couple of days to do it? It's like, yeah, that's the dream, is to have a couple of days to do it. But it takes time, and but we have to turn it really quick. So if we're heading on a story, and sometimes we're in even later, but 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, the goal is to turn that story around in like 2 or 3 hours. And that's from start to finish. That's including commuting time. So it'll be interesting to see how we make things work today and if we stay on the stories that we are staying in. But that's the beauty of news. You tune in and you never know what you're going to get. So a final look at the weather. We can go back outside and we can see our satellite even better because it shows nothing is coming our way, which is always a good sign here. So everything is away from us, south of us, and another beautiful day here in our city. We will be watching our hot and humid weather because that's returning starting on Thursday. You're going to notice a little bit of a difference, I heard, tomorrow, but Thursday and then Friday with the feel like of 105. Today will be a distant memory, unfortunately. But we thank you for joining us here on our Newsroom Live. Always a pleasure seeing you guys out there in our streaming. Hopefully we had more than, 2 viewers today. I think we had more than that, right? Yes. Yeah, okay, good. And thanks, everybody. We'll hopefully see you next time here on Fox Local. Let's send it out. We don't have any music, right? Nobody will play me out? No. Okay.